at me like I'm insane, but we're here now. Welcome to the Life Change Lounge. This is Volume 1, Episode 3. Here with Joel Chambers. We've had, Episode 4. We've had 3 other episodes. Yeah. So you are the fourth guest, and we just wanted to do Life Change Lounge for those people who are brand new to this. This is just an opportunity to have a real conversation, unscripted. There's only 2 scripted questions on this. What was a life change event, and what do you think that means? And so, other than that, we're gonna see where God takes it. We'll see what happens. So we want to just tell you that we are excited to be here. And we'll be taking questions towards the end of the broadcast, so about halfway through the end. So if you want to type in questions, that'd be great. And Joel said he's willing to answer anything.
Yeah. We'll see.
So I'm Salo Ortiz, founder and CEO of Life Change Institute. Life Change Institute's been around for about a year and a half. And the goal is to transform lives to what they were meant to be. And so we do that with a lot of different avenues. We do the Life Change Lounge, we do a scholarship fund, we do trainings, we do motivational speaking, we do clinical supervision for folks. And I can't make any of that happen without an amazing team. My executive assistant is disgustingly good. My social media, my marketing director is insane. My web guy, oh yes, my bad. So Joel, I think that, he's the web guy.
That's
so my web developer is on point, I'm telling you. So make sure you check out the website, www.lifechangeinstitute.us. And if there's feedback, please give it to him. But I've got a sick team. And so I've been blessed. And so my idea, Joel, was to bring you in because I know your personal story. Me and you were friends. We've been friends for a few years and just wanted to really highlight a lot parts of your story. So let's jump into it.
All right.
Cool.
Sounds good. Let's get it popping.
So the main question is this: what was your life change moment that kind of led to this sort of person that we see now in front of us as Joel Chambers?
I guess honestly, so the life change moment itself really was the moment that started a bunch of other things. Like that started me on the path that led up to where I'm at. And that moment, honestly, was my most recent and my last incarceration, which was as a result of 2 DUIs in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that came because I had a problem dealing with when I developed multiple sclerosis and how it actually struck me down. So I guess that could technically be such a life-changing moment.
Listen, NF has a song, he talks about layers. He said,
yeah, like layers and layers. Yeah, right? NF, shout out to NF.
Shout out. Look, NF, if you watching, maybe one day you will be, right? But look, you got the incarceration, a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis, and just a lot of the other life stuff that was happening at that time.
Correct. Yeah.
And so, yes, there's more than one life change moment that we typically have. But all of those culminated to really lead you down this path of what? Listen, those are enough things to just destroy a man. Yeah. I mean, how old were you when all this was starting to go down?
So what? MS hit at 31, and then I went to jail in 18. So what? 33. So like 31 to 33 is when that happened. Because MS happened, then my wife left, and I went down a bad path trying to cope and kind of deal. And part of that path was drinking. And evidently, the Commonwealth isn't a fan of if you drink and then navigate your vehicle on the road. And I don't think that's probably
a good look anywhere outside the Commonwealth or the 50 states or the world. I would think that that's probably not a good look. So that led to, so you had a series, kind of like the movie, series of unfortunate events that led to sort of some bad decision making. Yeah. That really caught you. I mean, it just grabbed you.
Yeah.
So I guess here's my question. Why didn't you go with it? Right? So look, at 31, people are like, look, my wife left, I got MS, 2 DUIs, got locked up, life ain't going well. It's a case of the efforts, the way I call it. Or you say, yo, you know what? I'm going to be that dude. And I'm going to be that guy that says, screw it and screw everybody. You didn't quit. Right. Why was that the life change moment? Because it could have been the life change moment that led you down this spiral, and me and you don't ever meet. Right. Why didn't you give in? Why didn't you go in for it?
Because I don't got give up in me. You know what I'm saying? It's not something that came easily or quickly, or even something to be considered for me. Like in general, from my life all the way up until that point, has always been behind the eight ball, if you will. I don't like to say destined per se, because my God says I'm destined for greatness, but you can definitely say that I was not really set up for success. Whether you want to say that's demographically, whether you want to say that's racially, whether you want to say that from, geographically, geographically, coming from humble beginnings and things of that nature in an environment that is I think it's the fourth poorest city in America. Is where I'm from. Yeah, Baltimore. You know what I mean? So I have opportunities from Jump Street. My parents did what they did. They did an amazing job. I love them so much for it. You know what I mean? I made it a little complicated also with certain decisions I made in my life. You know what I mean? But when it happened, I was like, I can't give up. I got to keep moving.
So you didn't take those as excuses. Here's the thing. Again, you could give into it and say, yo, it's because of this, and this. And we could take any number of those things, from a physical chronic illness to race issues and whatever. And we hear constantly in society people talking about, well, you're using these as excuses for the reason why you didn't.
Right.
I guess the challenge is, and maybe I'm bouncing a little bit back and forth, but you've been able to accomplish some things since then.
Yeah.
Right? So when you look back, you're like, I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm glad I didn't use that excuses.
Right.
Or, was it worth it? To go in for the fight?
Completely. Like I say all the time to people when they talk about, they'll see me in my wheelchair or whatever. They'll see the leg braces that I wear when I'm walking around. They're like, oh, what happened? You get in an accident? Or, a lot of times, especially in a wheelchair, I'm a young black male in a wheelchair, they're like, did you get shot? I'm like, no, I didn't get shot. You know what I mean? Wow. And it's one of the things I tell them, like, no, I got multiple sclerosis. And they're like, oh, shit. You know what I mean?
And they give you this look like,
wow.
You know what
I mean? I'm like, for what? You know what I mean? I was like, my life now is immensely better than it has ever been when I was able-bodied. You know what I mean? Like, I was able to actually find freedom, find security. And the drinking thing was a result of me not being able to come to grips with what was going on in my life, so I drank to run from it. I had a nervous system disease. Alcohol is a central nervous system depressant. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, drink this. I don't feel like I have MS. This isn't numb the whole time. My legs don't tingle all the time anymore. You know what I mean? But it didn't really get me anywhere. I had to come to grips and accept what God was doing in my life in order for me to actually be okay. And then I don't have issues with abusing alcohol or drugs or things of that nature, because I'm not trying to run. I'm accepting. And through that acceptance, now, things are like so much greater. Like, I get to work with you, which is pretty flipping awesome. You know what I mean? I work in my church. I'm giving a sermon. You know what I mean? Things of that nature. It's awesome.
But wait. Here's my thought.
Okay.
Here's my thought. I think sometimes, and maybe this is my own journey, right? We each go through what we go through. All of us have our trials. All of us have our life-changing moments. All of us have our stuff. What I often say is that it's a daily decision not to quit. So, like, if we're really being real about it, because that sounds real pretty, you sound like a real good after-school special. Yeah. Or is it real? Like, and I don't know. Yeah. You could be different. Right. Is it a daily decision to not quit, or is it that? How did you get to that point? If it's not a daily decision to not quit every day, to keep grinding. You see what I mean? Like, do you have to really choose to live?
All right, then, you know what? All right, yeah, great. After school special, great. Now we're going to go unscripted and unfiltered. You're damn right it's got to be a daily decision. You want to know why? Because MS is a daily decision. MS is an incurable, they don't know what the cause is, disease that is debilitating progressively. Each day, I don't know if I'm going to wake up and walk again. Each day, I don't know if I'm going to lose another aspect of my body that I had the day before. When MS hit, I woke up and couldn't walk. I walked to bed, woke up, and didn't walk again for 3 months. That's it. That's it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So daily, I have no idea what's going to happen. But I have to choose that whatever happens today, I have to keep moving forward on it. Like, it's the same thing I tell everybody. I tell people when they ask me, like, what's going to happen when, you know, it finally gets you and you're going to be in the vegetative and eating through the tube, or you're going to want to pull the plug. I'm like, all right, number one, it's dark as all get out, so I don't even know how we got there. Like, I don't know what's going on in your head. Well, I'm going to need you to tone it down real quick. You know what I'm saying? Well, bottom line, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do when that happens. Yeah. But that day's not today.
No, and that's
I have to live for today.
Right. So I got today. I don't know, and I think that's a real honest answer, Joe. Like I don't know.
I don't know.
I wish I could tell you the happy like when we talk about motivational speakers, we talk about motivation. Oh yeah, I mean I'm gonna keep grinding. I don't know.
I don't know.
I know I chose today.
Right. That's it. Like I'm gonna tell you right now. Like I know people, you know, in my circles and so on and so forth, and they are like, I got robbed one time, right? Yeah. Bam. Dude, you know, pulled a gun on me. Bam. Robbed me. People's like, yeah, you know, you pulled the gun on me. I'd have smacked the gun and I'd have grabbed him by the throat and I'm just, oh yeah, you was going to do all that? You have no idea what you was going to do until someone pulls that gun on you. Until it actually happens, then you know. Because there's people there like, I don't know if I'll ever, if that happened to me, if I could ever get through it. No, because if you got that don't give up in you, you got that fight in you, and humans, I have learned, are very resilient. I see so many people in so many different situations that for me, I'm like, I don't even know how you got through that. You know what I mean? And I've been through some stuff. You know what I'm saying? But when you have to, you will. When I got sent to prison, I didn't know I was going to get through that. Yeah. I'm 19 years old with a 5-year sentence. I'm like, oh my goodness, they're going to abuse me. I'm going to be a gangster. Right, I mean, yeah, at all. Bro, like, at all, you know what I mean? Like, I got some straight from wheelchair person, you know, cut like a bag of dope, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, exactly. Right, you feel me though? No cap. But, yeah, I'm like, oh, this ain't going to go good. This is not going to go good. But I did it. I got out. I'm good. Everything's still intact. So, you know what I mean? I did it. But you have no idea until you have to.
Absolutely.
That's it.
So then, look. So the you wake up at whatever time, you know, and often for a lot of us, right? Because we're doing this. This is September 22nd. This is Suicide Prevention Month. This is Hispanic American Heritage Month, right? This is all these things. So I draw from a lot of that to say there's a lot of people that are ending their lives because of the struggles they have. We wake up every day and we say, yo, I guess I'm going to go through it today. And it's not like a begrudging sort of, let me put my braces on. God gave me another damn day with breath in my lungs. Like, I'm going to go and I'm going to do it and I'm going to fight. And I'm going to do this thing. And that is a daily, I think that's a real honest, I don't know what tomorrow will bring. I don't know what that day will be, but I know today I've got this. Right, because I mean, I could go the biblical way, Matthew 6:34. You know what I mean? Don't worry about tomorrow. It's got its own struggles, its own live for today, and things of that nature. But sometimes I'm not even going to lie. When it was really hitting the fan, I wasn't trying to hear any of that. Right. I was like, you know what? Why am I going to be excited about tomorrow? Worry about tomorrow because the day sucks enough. I don't even want to know what's going to happen tomorrow. And sometimes you just got to grind it out. But I had to have. I'm in a program at my church, and one of the sayings there is "Don't quit before the miracle happens," which of course sounds wonderful and pretty and great, sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies. However the song go, I don't know. But bottom line is like sometimes you just gotta be like, man, I just gotta get through it. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think about the last time I went through something when I was like, I ain't gonna have no way out of this. I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. But the only reason I can think about that is because I did get through it. This too shall pass or whatever, fine. But unless I had to actually remind myself of other things I did get through to be like, if I was able to get through that, and I remember at that time when the judge was like 5 years and my lawyer was like, you're going to go home today. He was wrong. Still took the money though. I'm like, how am I going to get through that? How am I going to do 5 years in prison? But look, and then you have, you know, on top of that, you get the doctor's diagnosis. On top of that, you get and you're a young cat, bro. Like, you still got a lot of time left. And so we don't know what the trials will be, but I know that I got through some. I know that my God got me through some. If you approach this from a faith standpoint, so I know I can keep grinding. And one of the questions that came in was this, right? Would your faith really be as strong? Let me word it the right way. You think you'd have the faith that you have without the diagnosis? Right, it's funny because people ask me that all the time. I've had diabetes 32 years, right? 32 years of diabetes, and I always looked at wanting to be, you know, everybody who knows me now knows that I think I'm the baddest thing ever. Right. I unashamedly will tell you I am the baddest man on the planet. Everything I touch turns to gold. Like, it's all of that, right? Me and Joel were joking that he's number 2 and I'm number 1 because I can't be outdone.
I
Right?
thought we were gonna put that on there. We wasn't.
I'm sorry, my bad. Filters, right? But would my faith be as strong if I didn't go through the things? I think that I know for me, God put those things in my path, in order to test and show not just His faithfulness, but my willingness to be faithful to Him and as a servant. Would my faith be as strong? I don't know. I mean, again, it's hard to answer, but I know I thought I was the greatest thing ever at 12 years old, right?
Right.
So do you think your faith would be as strong if you didn't have the history you had, if you didn't have MS? If you didn't have MS, what do you think? Right? Because you got through prison, you got through Baltimore, right?
Right. No, it wouldn't have been. Like, I can say that emphatically. I'll say it for a couple different reasons. One, because I ain't always have MS, okay? And when I didn't, it wasn't this strong. So I already know it wasn't this strong until I caught MS and all the things that transpired as a result of that. Like the Apostle Paul. What was his faith look like before he had his life change
Before he
moment?
was sitting in the prison?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Right before that, things of that nature. When he was King Saul, he was running around killing people, when the guy struck him down and woke up, his faith was super strong then.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I subscribe to the notion that God has a plan, and that plan was for me, and because of that, this was my way to get where I'm at.
So, all right.
Well,
you've been through
about to go down. It's about to go down.
Anytime he hears me say, okay.
Stand by. You started giggling and stuff. Like, I don't like all that.
Yo, you shouldn't. But we're about to get really real, right? Because here's the thing, right? So let's talk to you. Everybody knows, again, unashamedly, your faith, my own, right? And we know that Life Change is not billed as a Christian company. We are helping people, right? So it's a crutch, Joe. And it's funny because I'm laughing on a couple different levels because we talk about crutches with MS, right? I think that's almost evil.
Right, nah, bro. This is the crutch. This is the crutch.
But all of that sounds pretty, right? Because, everybody in jail, everybody who get locked up, all of a sudden get faith. You're either Muslim or Christian, right? Same sort of thing when you catch something that's, you have this chronic illness.
Lord help me.
Yeah, and I have to understand that He did it for my good, right? And this is a crutch to carry you through. How do you differentiate your faith being authentic versus being a crutch? Like, if we're talking real talk, because that sounds good again, and you can go into the hood, you can go to the spots. I know, I'm sorry, but I have to.
I mean, wow. Okay, we busted heads now. Okay, bet it. So here's the kicker, and it could be a cop out, it could be whatever it is, but I'm like, take it how you want. You know what I mean? Get it how you live. Bottom line is, faith is the belief in something that can't be seen. That's literally I have a faith. I don't have a religion. Okay, I believe my God, Jesus, He died for my sins. That's that. If I'm wrong and there's nothing after this life, then there's nothing after this life. All right. If I'm right and there's something after this life, I get to go to that something after my life. But if I don't believe and I'm right, then there's nothing after this life. But if I don't believe and I'm wrong, I get screwed. So out of four different, forever. So out of 4 different results, only one of them I make out. And the other ones, either nothing's after this life or there is something and I'm screwed. And you get to all of those by not believing. But by believing, not only am I guaranteed my salvation and eternity, if that's even a thing, okay? But up until then, I get to live a life that is purposeful and happy for me.
Okay,
so if it is a crutch, it's a pretty good one. It's better than any wheelchair I got or anything I got strapped on these legs right now. It was working for me. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I brighten people. I brighten myself through some hard times. And everybody wins.
It's funny because if you go back to Baltimore, if you go to some of your spots that, even that you went to before, they may look at you like, man, you soft because you're leaning on that. Right? I mean, it's looked at, a faith like that is looked at as real soft.
It is.
Right? And so, but nobody will test you and say that the things that you've overcome and you've been through has been soft. Right? So it's funny. They're like, now you got weak. You're like, bro, like I've been through some real things. How am I weak? And they think that you're taking an easy way out. But your faith, then it's tested every day. Again, deciding to live every day, deciding to get up and grind, deciding to do this sort of thing, and then deciding to lean on something that you don't fully get, but you know is bigger than you, and you know has carried you already through a lot of things. I think that's the evidence of an authentic faith. That's the evidence of something that's legit.
Right, because I'll speak on it regardless of how other people feel. And people ask me questions, I'm not afraid to say I don't know. And the main reason I'm not afraid to say that, because if I knew it all, then my God's not big enough for me to worship. If I could figure him out.
So now, maybe here's the other side of the coin. You're glamorizing all these negative things you've been through.
Yeah.
You know? Because I've been to prison. I got locked up. I was drinking and driving. States don't like that. I got MS. And now you're bragging on these things. It's almost like people, you know, it's funny because like I work with kids all the time and they're like, what'd you do? And then when did you turn your life around? So I know I can do all that and then turn. Right. Some people may look at this, Joel, and say, I ain't been through enough of the struggle. I almost have to go through a struggle in order to build a testimony, right? That's the Christian term, or a ministry or opportunity to speak and influence lives. Are you glamorizing the fact that you've been through those things?
Nah, right, any of them. You know what I mean? The thing is, it's the hindsight 2020 types perspective. Yeah. Like for me, the reason why I speak of them with excitement is because it is a reminder to me of what I've been through to celebrate where I'm at. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things like almost it's insanity for me to bring it up. Like when I bring up certain things, like I forgot about the whole prison thing. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't even on my radar to talk about tonight. You know what I mean? Because that was like so long ago. I was 19 or 36. Like MS happened like freaking I don't even know like 10 years after I got out, you know what I mean? So like I had a whole different life from before then, went through it like that was a life change moment, you know what I mean? Had a whole different life and then got married, which was a life change moment. Then this stupid thing happened and that was a life change moment. So yeah, no, I don't glorify it, but it's one of the things where it's like, you know, I went through some stuff. Like that's pretty freaking neat to be where I'm at now. Right. After all that, because any one of those things could have taken me out.
And have taken out other people.
Yeah, I texted this morning about a man that I lost, you know what I mean? Rest in peace, Image, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I lost back home in Baltimore. Just last night, I got texted 4:30 in the morning. Wow. You know what I mean? People dying left and right is what his brother Deuce had told me. Right. And it just, any one of those things could have took me out. The way I was living.
And
next question.
Because here's the other thing, right? If we're talking real faith, we're talking real journeys, we're talking real walks. You don't, and I know, while I may think I'm Superman, right? I know I'm not bulletproof. I know that I face real trials day to day too. So it's not only a daily decision to get up and get grinding and win, but it's also knowing that at any turn, it's just by one half step that I'm slipping and I'm down, right? DMX is capital slipping, I'm falling, right? You recognize that there's a daily decision. You and I have chopped it up about a lot of things, right? From past use to past relationships and trials we've done, right? To past habits, you know, and CR, Celebrate Recovery, will talk about this, right? Hurts, habits, and hang-ups. The things that we're tripping through before, they are still a daily sort of decision to do. It's not just the decision to keep going, but it's the decision to let go of some things that are so tempting. Right?
Yeah. A lot of I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, I used to be in secular, you know, recovery. That's one of the first things they tell you. If you're not working recovery, you're working relapse. Like, it's one way or the other. Like, there's no in between. You know what I mean? You're getting stagnant. Watch out. You're about to slip. Absolutely. You know, and bust your head. Absolutely. So, it's a lot of, you know, it has to be a daily continuance of recognizing that you could just slip. You know what I mean? For example, like, I could be dating a girl and she could be super mad at me and just want to mess with me and just while I'm asleep just take my leg braces and dip off. No cap, right? You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like no cap. You know what I'm saying? Like I gotta be aware of these things daily. That I gotta be on my P's and Q's, or I could be literally screwed right back where I was.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's a real life. Visual reminder for me that like at any given moment I could do the wrong thing, make the wrong decision, you know, go the wrong route and be not right back, but even further back than I was.
Here's something that's real, right? Me and my therapist was talking about this, right? Because I told him, me and him was in a debate. Because I told him I'm always got to be on guard. Yes, I have a therapist.
Right.
Yes, I am the therapist, and I'm the baddest one ever. But I also know I need help. And so me and him were arguing and debating, let's say it nicely, right? Because I told him I'm always on guard, right? I got caught slipping once, I'll never get caught slipping again. And it was for a lot of different things. But the challenge that he's given to me is that there has to be a time to be able to stop and break or release or be able to kind of let your guard down. Are you saying that you live each moment with your guard up at any moment, at any turn? Are you saying that you're able to, because that's a real struggle for Christians, that's a real struggle for people who've been through some things. When we go through trauma, Joel, when we go through some things, we keep our guard up all the time, and we don't always have to have the defenses up. How do you, I mean, I don't know that there's a right answer to this, and I know we didn't script this, so I don't know.
Right. I mean, it's one of the things where, honestly, if you want to keep it real, it's like, in what situation? You know, certain situations, my guard's always going to be up. You know what I mean? Certain things like that, like it's just always going to be. Other situations, it might come down a little bit. It might have a peephole. You know, I can slide, take a look, be like, all right, nah, we ain't opening that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, no, they staying out there. Yo, the winter is coming, my dude. You know what I'm saying? White Walkers is out there. You know what I mean? Like, but certain times, it's like that's how it is. But it's not necessarily like, I feel as though being on point, like situational awareness, doesn't necessarily have to mean like you always ready to strike. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, I like to think, you know, being on guard is like you always got your dukes up. But you can always be situationally aware, just laid back in the cut, like, them over there, them over there, them over there. You know, like Sherlock Holmes be, you know what I mean, like 30 degrees to the north, hit him in the head, drop him, you know what I'm saying?
It's being aware of your surroundings, being aware, knowing, like, from a faith standpoint, right, is knowing that my God is big enough to handle, but it's also saying that I don't need to be blind. And this is where some people get it twisted, right? You have this sort of blind faith, this sort of understanding that, oh, God will take care of it. And that's not what we're saying.
You can't sit on your butt and say, God, take care of it.
Not at all. And it's not also the other part of kind of from a street mentality or from a grind mentality of I'm always ready to strike, always. Because you're right. Being aware does not mean always ready to strike. And that's a really good point. You have to pay attention and you have to live in reality of what your situation looks like to say, okay, now there's scriptural ways to do this, right? Pray without ceasing, always involve God in every piece, and then look for that guidance and direction. But I'm ready to move when he says move. Right. So it's being aware. But it's not ready always on the defense or always on the attack. And that's different. I'm going to be real with you. I'm always on the attack. Okay. I'm always ready to strike first. And some people have been through some things where they want to hit first. Right. You be damned if you get The schoolyard fight, don't hit first. Don't hit the last one. I'm going to hit first before, because you never know what that first blow going to be like. So I'm going to hit you first. Some of us grow up and think that all through life.
Well, I mean, it's like I'm not a killer, don't push me. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things where, like, I'm not always ready to strike and so on and so forth. But if it goes there, I'll meet you where you at. Right. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You know, it's one of those type situations and scenarios.
Yeah. So look. So here's the thought too. A question came in that says, "What are some practical, everyday ways your life has been transformed or transformed lives of others?" So you have the grinds and you have the things that you've been through. We look for the evidence of the things, right? Because we look through, a lot of people go through a struggle, Joel, and say, God, why'd you put this in my path? And then you recognize the sort of faith component and say, okay, God, thank you, right? But have you been able to see the evidence of you pushing through? Have you been able to see how it's transformed or changed others? God using you, God using Joel Chambers through your MS, God using Joel Chambers through your recovery, God using Joel Chambers as being a black man that's willing to kind of come out of some difficulties and still shine, right? How have you seen God using some of these things in real life, practical ways? Is there evidence of your fruit?
Yeah. So for example, after I got out of jail from the DUIs, like, I came out homeless in my wheelchair and I was on the streets of Virginia Beach. During that time, like, I was on the streets for a while before I was able to get into a shelter. Then I was in the shelter, and while I was in the shelter, I was still doing my thing, keep grinding, working towards a voucher, working towards getting housing, and so on and so forth. And I was able to work with these other individuals and help show them kind of the way to move. But the biggest thing was they were able to see with their feeling of being so low or not being worthy or whatever, what have you, being down and out. They were able to see this disabled black man in a wheelchair that just got out of jail, you know what I mean, make moves and make it happen. And they were like, if he can do it, I know that I can do it.
Yeah.
But I just need a little bit of help. And with my faith and with the patience, that I've gotten and the peace from my faith and the changing moments of MS that really slowed everything down for me. Like there's nothing like being thrown in a wheelchair in a world where handicap is the last thing to be thought about. You got sidewalks that don't have ramps at the end of them. You get all the way to the end of the block and you can't even get off it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You go into businesses or you want to go to a particular establishment to eat and you can't get over the hump in the door. I went to a particular place, I'm not going to name names, you know what I mean? But like, there's a video arcade or whatever, video game arcade. All the arcade things are upstairs. They don't have an elevator.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You're the afterthought. You know what I mean? Clinton brought out the ADA Act or the American Disabilities Act. Places had to start trying to change in order to accommodate. Not everybody really got to do that because if it's
and here's the other trick with it too. And I talk about this. We might get on this later, but you don't look sick. So everybody look at you and think, man, he fronting anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I'm not faking sick. I'm faking well. Because that's the thing with neurological diseases. You don't see how I feel.
Exactly.
On the parts that I still do feel.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You don't see, and that's a shout out to doctors and a shout out to doing what doctors ask you to, physical therapists and things of that nature, so that they can help make you move in a way that you can still try and live your best life possible as you adjust to your new normal. And when the next flare up comes, adjust to that new normal, adjust to that one. I understand I'm not going to pick anything cold up with my left hand anymore. I'm not going to try and do numbers with my left hand anymore because I don't have that dexterity anymore. I'll try and count 2, 3, 4. My left hand, I'm like 2, 3, and I'm throwing gang signs. Like, what is that? You know what I mean? It don't work anymore, so just leave it alone. You know what I mean? I can't keep this one steady, so I'm not going to do fine movements with it. You know what I mean? I grab this hand and do it and put my elbow down. You know what I mean? You learn certain things so that you can get around. Right, adapt.Use adaptive devices, like the braces we talked about earlier. You know what I mean? Stuff like this that you can walk around. And if it's too big to walk, then you use your wheelchair. You know, so that's the thing.
So look, one of the things that I do, Joel, just to kind of fill in some of the gaps that people don't know, like we're talking life change lives, we're talking Joel change, we're talking challenges, opportunity, overcoming those. We're talking about a chronic illness, a diabetic, MS, right? And I tell my clients, and I develop this over time, right? There's a difference between being sick and being ill. And so it's a fun little game I play, right? And so I'll spare the time in the conversation, but the difference between a sickness and an illness, because people will look at me just like they look at you and say, you don't look diabetic. Or you don't look like you have MS.
Right.
For everybody that says that, I know you want to square up and just swear, right?
So bad.
It's bad,
So
right?
bad.
And I know that people are trying.
So what does that person look like?
Exactly.
Tell
Just
me.
like, what is a diabetic?
I didn't know you got an effing doctorate. Wow, that's awesome. Nice to meet you.
And it's hard. And people are trying to understand. They're trying to wrap their head around it and this is why it's going to help them. The difference between being ill and being sick. I have an illness, diabetes, of the flu, MS.
Right.
That's the condition. The sickness is the manifestation of.
Right.
And so the sickness is the symptoms that you see. When you have a cold, you cough, you sneeze, your nose runs.
Right.
When you have MS and it flares up, that's the weakness you see. That's the insensitivity, right? You can't feel stuff.
Right.
Just like diabetes and my sugar skyrockets. Or I go to the house. So people say you don't look sick. And you're right, I'm not sick.
Right.
I have an illness. But I'm not sick. And that's the differentiator, right? We have to learn to kind of walk through this sort of life and show people that we are not sick.
Right.
And we have an illness. Now, you can call the illness what you want, and it's going to overtake me at some point because we have broken bodies. But I'm going to work my hardest to not be sick.
Right.
And so when we talk about getting up and grinding every day, I will not be sick today. And I will do everything I need to not be sick.
Right.
That's really what we're talking about. And we can use that to address addiction. We can use that to address a lot of
so
things.
many things.
Right?
Yeah.
But the goal is to not be sick. And so I tried to learn, I'm trying to tell myself to take it as a compliment. When people are like, you don't look like you have it. I'm like, well, I make it look good.
Right.
That's the challenge. I make MS look good. I make diabetes look good.
Good, right. Yeah, because that's it. Like, I have MS. MS doesn't have me.
There you go. That's what it is.
And that's the biggest difference because, I had to think about that a lot of times, I have issues with this person, but that person ain't got me. Yeah, I mean,
really good
you might be beefing, but I'm gonna have the upper hand.
So look, how about this? Is there a part of your struggle or your story that led to the Joel we have now that you don't want to be used for good? You see, so here's the thing. We go through some things.
Wait.
I know, man. I said you didn't even see it coming. So what you don't see coming, right? Look, we go through some things.
Flag on the play, bro.
And we don't have to get into details of it, obviously. I'm not saying, but I think even just acknowledging if there is parts, or is it completely wide open? There's parts of our story that are just a struggle. We're like, damn, and we don't like them.
I mean, like things are done, things that happened, or
wide open story. Both. It's both, right? Things that's happened, things are done. You know, the situations that life had brought you in.
I mean, so.
And I got them too.
I mean, I could easily say like. Lord, dude,
got him.
I
got him.
Lord, give me strength.
Here's the thing. And listen, I don't want details. Here's what I'm trying to say. And this is what I want people to see.
So,
as a real
yes, I mean, it's not everything is rosy. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what it is. Because I don't want people to just walk away from this and think, well, you just try to use everything for good and you're just Mr. Positive. No. There's some things in my life that suck.
That did.
And I'm like, God, what are you doing?
I mean, so one thing, like, we didn't touch, and I think it's fair to touch because I don't want to have it look one way when I know it wasn't, you know what I mean? I don't want to be out here like I was dishonest or anything like that. But I said I got sick and, you know, my wife left and so on and so forth and boom, boom, boom. A lot of people are like, wow, how could you do that? That's terrible. Number one, don't do that when it comes to my ex-wife. I was a shit husband. Sorry, bro. I wasn't a great husband, okay? You know what I mean? And her choice to leave, like, you know, one of the things that happened when I talked to her later on, after she remarried and so on and so forth, and we had a conversation. She had actually put a deposit down to already leave to another apartment right before I woke up and couldn't walk. So she was already on the way out. Because I was a terrible husband before that. You know what I mean? I was caught up in myself. I was doing too much. It's things of that nature. So people are like, oh, how could your wife do that? After you got sick, she left you. That's not what happened. I was a poop husband anyway, and that just exasperated it. So yes, did it work out for good? It did. Now she's in a new marriage. She's got a beautiful child and so on and so forth. I'm in a great relationship. So yeah, okay, that works. But, you know what I mean?
I think that here's the thing, Joe, right? Like, so again, like life happens and continues to happen to us. I think that your willingness to acknowledge, yo, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of it, right? When we look at some of the situations that we've been through and even God used, it's not that it was like, oh, okay, God always had a master plan and whatever. Sometimes I put myself in a stupid ass situation. And I have to own that. Sometimes I was an idiot and I gotta own that. Sometimes I don't want God to use, but we know from a scripture standpoint, all things work together, and we hear that for the good of those who love Him. All right, so I gotta love Him first. So we get that. But I don't want you to use this part, and I still don't understand. I can't wrap my head around these certain parts. I think that it's fair to acknowledge that.
Right.
It's hard. That's a real story. That's a real life. So this leads to this question. This came in from somebody. They said, when you look back, do you feel like there was something that would have helped change your path? This falls into the path of the shouldas, the shoulda, woulda, couldas.
See, right? I try not to do that though.
But it's very easy to.
It definitely is.
Back, right? And especially, right, I talk to people.
Yeah, I didn't want to go to prison.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. I would love to have those years of my life back.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? I wouldn't have loved to have MS. You know what I mean? That'd have been great. You know what I mean? Right.
How do you avoid the shouldas? How do you avoid the shoulda, woulda, couldas?
All right, so I'm not going to lie. All right, so most of the time, I try to keep a mindset of God's got a plan. The Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Blase, blase. You know what I mean? But that's most of the time. You know what I mean? There are still times where I'm like, if I only had not did this, if I only had not did that, you know what I mean? I'm still dealing with some stuff right now, and it could. I mean, technically, it's light work when it comes to everything else in life. I'm still beefing at DMV right now over some BS. You know what I'm saying? And them clowns, you can't get a hold of them for nothing. You know what I mean? And I'm talking big money, like almost a stack. Like I'm beefing with them about, and I'm like, dude, like I was locked up. Car, they said, did you have insurance on it? I was like, I didn't even have a car. It was repoed. I'm sitting in jail. Like, who gives a if I had insurance on the car? You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, we can't do this for you until you pay us the $500 for uninsured motorists and the $200 and something else for this. And I'm like, bro, I didn't even have a car. You know what I mean? Like, there's stuff like that where I'm like, if I didn't drive drunk, if I didn't do this, if I had turned this street and not that street, I was trying to get nacho fries, leaving Mermaids, going up First Colonial. And I'm trying to count the ones I had left over, and swerved and got pulled. Wow. I was like, what if I didn't have ones?
Right.
Because of where I was at earlier.
And so look, so here's the thing too, right? So the thought is, just because you continue to see struggles, or just because you fight a case of the shoulda, woulda, couldas, just because doesn't mean that you're still not a transformed life. Right? Because again, looking back at the path that I was on, the path of destruction, path however you want to take it, right? These were the life change moments, right? We talk about what was your life change moment. You gave me the culmination of all those things, and I still have struggles, but I know that by and large, I'm on the right trajectory.
Right, and that's the point. Is if I try to look down the line, and I don't know what that looks like, but I know what I feel like when I look down that line. I know what I felt like before when I looked down the line. That line was down. You know what I mean? That line was like this. Now when I look, the line's like this. You know what I mean? So I know that things have been changed. Things have been transformed. I don't know what it looks like. It might not even go there. It might go here and then there. You know what I mean? But the fact that that's where my mind is now means that I am changed. My life is changed because now when I think of my life, and I battle issues that people don't want. I know people that have literally, and I know this is the month for it, have taken their life with the diagnosis. The diagnosis didn't even have a full flare. You know what I mean? Yeah. But just knew it was coming. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It was the transformation of the perspective, right? The transformation of, right? And people often ask me that too, even with my own chronic illness or my own issues and battles with depression or anything else. But it's the transformation of my perspective of how I look at things moving forward. So the transformation isn't just the evidence of sort of the things seen, right? Like you said, it's not faith. You can look at certain things and say, well, he ain't any different. But there was a change that was happening inside of here.
It has to be there. Right. Bro, I'm on Section 8. You know what I mean? I got food stamps. I'm on disability. You know what I'm saying? I used to be a genius for Apple. I used to be a full-time student. I went to Hopkins. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to have money. I used to have education. You know, I used to be balling out of control. I used to have all that. My life is materialistically a fraction of what it used to be.
And yet, you say so much better.
But so much better.
That's crazy.
Because the change is here. Right. It's not all the way out there. Because you know what? I lost all that out there. Right. You sitting in jail with doing a year for 2 DUIs, everything's gone. Your job's gone, your apartment's gone, your car's gone, your license is gone, your wife's gone. You know what? Your friends are gone. Because you want to know what happens? You want to know who your friends are? Go to jail. And you know what happens? I found out I didn't have any friends. I had brothers, though. Right. Shout out to TZ and Boss.
How you make this insane? This dude for real. Look, I'm done with you.
Yeah, I'm sitting clear on.
We're at Life Change Lounge. We've got questions rolling in, Joel. I think that this has been a real honest conversation. I think that this has been a real honest look at what life has brought and what true life change looks like. And I say that for all my guests, and I constantly want to bring guests on that are willing to have an honest conversation.
Yeah, you hit my head with them questions, bro.
Man, listen, you ain't even heard the ones that coming in.
Oh, for real? Oh, man.
So I'm gonna hit you with some of them. Are you ready for this?
All right, let's see what we can
Last
do. 15, let's
Woo-wee. Here's one that came in. Shout out to anybody popping in questions. Bring them in, and even after we're done, after you see this on YouTube, after you see this on our page, I want you to make sure you bring the questions because Joel's connected to me. He'll answer. We'll make sure that we answer. So look, it says, with all the racial injustice happening in the world and your experience in the justice system, 1, did you experience any of the issues while incarcerated? And 2, what's one step for our nation to improve the system? You went through a legal system. We often, as men of color, kind of say is a very disproportionate number. We see those numbers. We see these sort of things. Your take, having been inside, having gone through it, knowing that you've done some wrong, so you deserve to get consequences. What's your take on it from a legal standpoint, if you're willing to even go there? Because that's a tough one.
I mean, so the thing is, for me, like, I did wrong. So I'm not going to be like, yeah, you know, I was targeted incorrectly. Man, I did crimes. You know what I'm saying? The kicker is when it came around to the time. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sitting there with a 5-year sentence on a first charge. You know what I mean? That I'm looking at someone with a lighter complexion than me that got 18 months and didn't even get sent upstate. You know what I mean? Like, did I not have enough money for this lawyer? Did I not have enough money for that? Was I just the wrong complexion? It didn't even matter. You know what I mean? Because my people's paid a couple $2 for my lawyers. You know what I'm saying? So, Yeah, I saw that. And then now the thing is, when I was inside though, I didn't really. Ooh, actually, no, I'm lying. Though. I forgot. I didn't really think, but I forgot when I was in this one particular prison. And it's in northwestern Maryland with the initials of MCIH. But like that whole prison is ran. They all look like they the same family, and that family is Caucasian, and they are terrible. Like the way they treated us was terrible. So bad. Like there's one rule out there, and people that have been, they know what I'm talking about. But there's one rule out in Hagerstown, but yeah, they would test you to try and make you break that rule so bad. They sit there with the Rin Tin Tin ready to go at you. The little not the taser, the pepper spray cans look like fire extinguishers on the side of them. And they hit the chow hall on us in times like that for no reason.
So let me ask a hard question. Man of color, been through these things, been through these racial injustices, even going through doing your time. Why should people that are not as pigmented as you and I listen to you and be inspired by you, right? Because here's the thing, are you being authentic if you're trying to change lives and you're trying to impact lives, knowing you've been through some of the racial discrepancies and some of the things that you've been through? It's hard. And I get the same question.
Yeah, I mean...
That's hard. I know, man. Look, you didn't know that it was going to be like this, right? I didn't prep you for this.
So,
yo, you can't.
It's I want to give an honest answer, right?
Please do.
And,
all I want is honesty.
And it's gonna come out and be taken out what it is, but all I can do is be honest. And whether that means the Lord hasn't got me to a place where I'm supposed to be to answer maybe a way that's better for Him yet, I don't know. I can't answer that. All I can do is be honest right now. And for real, if they don't like it, I don't care. Because I'm not out here to try and change their life. I'm out here talking about how my life has gotten better. And if someone can take something from that, that's great. If they can't, it's not any sweat on their back. Because I guarantee you this, that same person that felt that way wasn't there when I was going through the shit. And if they don't like it that I got through it, I ain't mad. You wasn't with me shooting in the gym.
Right? You wasn't with me in line waiting for the food.
Right,
for the
exactly.
You wasn't with me the first night I was
right, you wasn't there in shout. Yeah,
but here's the thing. So like, I'm going to put it in the prettier terms.
Yeah, that's a nice flip then. Let's do that thing.
This is teamwork, bro. And this is not flipping it to even say like, okay, we're going to make it sound nice. Your responsibility, our responsibility as life changers is not to necessarily deliver in such a way that makes sure that we directionally, intentionally grab this person, right? There's some grabbing intentional of crowds, right? But we know that if we keep the message consistent, if we keep it honest, those who have ears to hear will hear, and they're gonna grab it however they need to grab it. You did not intentionally go out into, after you got through all your stuff, and even now say, I'm only going to talk to young black males because they'll get where I'm coming from, especially the ones in Maryland that we're dealing with.
Right, exactly, right.
That's way too intentional.
Right.
Now, you can be directional and intentional, but my thing is to just be honest and bring true life change of what that looks like, and those who need to grab something from it will grab something from it. That's what you're basically trying to do.
That's literally it. Like, I'm putting it out there. I mean, like you said, if you got ears, let them hear. You know what I mean? If this reaches out, if this reaches you, definitely reach out to us because this is a whole lot more than what we can pack into an hour. You know what I'm saying? And that's that. But like as you can see now, we're just gonna give it to you straight and real, and that's it.
And that's what I can appreciate about it, Joel, is that here's what we're seeing in this. There's a desire to filter. There's a desire to not let it come out honestly or try to put a pretty face to it on it or something like that. But I've got to be honest about it. I think that something that's the takeaway, Joel, is that there's an honesty to this, whether we like it or not. You also acknowledge that I'm an ever-evolving, ever-changing human being, right? God is continuing to do a work in me, and that's okay. So it may not have the pretty answer for you right now, but I'm processing. Same conversation I had with my therapist is the same sort of idea. I may not have the answer right now, but I know that I'm working on trying to find it.
Right.
I think that's exactly fair. Yeah, look, you did all right with that one. That one almost knocked you out, bro.
Yeah.
Right, how about this one? Shout out to all those giving us questions on the Life Change Lounge. When you look back, do you feel like there was something that would have helped you? I think you kind of told me some of that. How about this one? Let me give you this one. When did you finally know it was time to give up and let God, right? The whole Christian serum of let go, let God. When did that sort of trying to do it on your own really, really kind of kick in for you?
So sometimes you just have those moments where like there's no other way. It had to be, God. So for me, it was most likely I was in the shelter and still trying to find housing and so on and so forth. And there was, come to find out, there is a certain amount of time that you're allowed to stay in the shelter. And I came up on that time. And so my case manager at the shelter had let me know, like, hey, you got like 2 weeks left. And I'm like, well, where am I going to go? She's like, I don't know, but you can't stay here anymore. I was like, well, that doesn't sound fair. Like, you got to go home. Like, I ain't got a home. That's why I'm in the shelter. But anyway, and so I left out of the building, and I was in the parking lot, and my mom at the time was about to go back to Florida because they were my parents were in Florida, but they came back when I got out of jail just to be like, how you gonna do? I'm like, I'm on the streets, I'm about to get in the shelter. And she was about to go to Florida. She was like, why don't you come down to Florida? They're in the second floor apartment with no elevator. I'm in a wheelchair. Like, it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I don't know how that's gonna work. So I'm getting in the car with mom, so we can go somewhere. I don't even know where it was. My phone rings, and I get a call from a complex that has one handicap room available to rent to me from Norfolk. I'm in Virginia Beach jail from Norfolk's Public Housing Authority. And I go back, I go to my case manager, and I tell them what they say, and they're like, all right, well, if they're going to go through the process, we're trying to get you a voucher, we'll let you stay here while I go through that process. And that's the apartment that I'm at to this day. And it was like, all right, you know what? There is no other way in the cosmos of everything that this could have happened at that exact time unless somebody had me covered. And when that happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just, every time I'm faced with a decision, I'm going to go with the right one. Which normally is the one that doesn't seem easy.
Right. And doesn't seem like it even makes sense.
It doesn't even make sense. Like, why would I even, you know what I'm saying? I do that, and I've just been continuously blessed. Like taking the bus to go to celebrate recovery at my church, which is, you know, at Grace Bible Church on Lynn Haven. But the bus stop is where the gym is, one like on the boulevard. So I had to ride my wheelchair from Virginia Beach Boulevard all the way down to Ansel Lane just to go to celebrate recovery. When I, you know, was immobile, I didn't have transportation. You know what I mean? But I did it. And it seemed stupid, and it seemed dumb, and it was crazy. But I did it. But if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gotten the people I have in my life that encouraged me forward.
Look, we wouldn't have met. Honestly, we met and celebrated.
Yeah, we did.
I was rhyming. You was like, yo, I heard about you. Right? We was chopping it up. And this was years ago. If we hadn't done this, because one of the questions that came in, Joe, was why this team? Why be a part of a team like Life Change Institute, which right now we're small, right? Right now we're local, but we worldwide. We come. Why be a part of something like this? And you wouldn't have we would have never met. Right. Bro, I was at Grace Bible Church 20-some years. You would have never been around there. Why be a part of something like this then?
All right, one, because so with the part with the answering the questions where I was like, you got to be real and be honest, one of those things is you only really feel you can do that when you're with people you're comfortable with. We have a comfortability with each other. We have similar faiths. We have similar values. You know what I mean? We have similar feelings about those faiths and those values that are sometimes, you know, counter characteristic to how some other people look at how we look at our faith and values. But it doesn't matter because it's ours and we own it. And because of that ability for us to be honest with each other, which some people could even consider vulnerable.
Don't use that word.
That's
like
word.
A 4-letter word.
Son, we can bleep that out, right?
Yeah, right.
We got it. Our production, we're doing a post-production.
No, we keep vulnerability in there because it is a horrible word.
It is a horrible word.
Listen, men of color, minority men in general, people in general, right? God forbid you're vulnerable.
No, there's another word for that. It starts with a P. I forget what it is.
Pretty. Pretend. No. I guess we'll just have to get it. Right. You came and you saw that there was a comfort level and an ability to continue to be the real you. Right. One of the things we joked about, I am gonna put this out there. We joked on our team that in order to be a part of this team, you have to have issues.
You have to.
It's one of the requirements to be a part of this team.
You have to. Right? No, other people in the team jumping back there right now. They
who got issues. The people that recognize that I didn't want perfect people. I wanted people with a story that said, I got issues, and I'm willing to use those issues to change somebody else's life while I continue to change my own and become what God has called me to be. And I'm not ashamed of these things. And you're right, it is scary. You're right. It's scary for me as a leader, let alone as a crew. Right? To say, yo, are you sure we can do this? That's a requirement, to be able to put your issues there and still work through them and use them to your advantage or allow God to use them. I think that's the thing. And anybody on my team knows that. Anybody who interacts with us knows that. And so I think that's part of the story that hopefully you saw and you continue to see.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, we'll hit each other up about stuff totally unwork related, you know what I mean? Because we just need to have that talk. I mean, all of us do that with each other.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And that's, look, with vulnerability also comes another word that we don't like, which is accountability.
Accountability, yes.
There's an accountability that I know I have with you guys on my squad that I have to keep grinding the way I do. And trust me, just like you said, Joe, like I want to give up. I want to walk away. It's a battle, not just daily, it's almost hourly. But I'm accountable to you guys because you're grinding and you also believe in me and what we're doing, and vice versa. I believe in you and what you can bring to the table and do. So there's the vulnerability that leads to accountability, that leads to success. There is guaranteed success with that. So look, I want to give you this one, man. I'm gonna read this verbatim. Joe's mom said, "Shout out to Mom."
Hey, Mom, I love you, Mom.
Shout out to Mom. Listen, he was an advocate for the others in the homeless shelter and instrumental to having institutional changes that benefited others. Listen, you were doing life change before you even were part of life change.
Dude, so they was doing some foul stuff up in the shelter, right? Now, and I'm gonna give them a little bit of grace. You know what I mean? Because it was brand new. Like, I got released like October 20th or whatever. The shelter opened like September 16th or something like that. So it was like brand new. They were green as all get out. You know what I'm saying? But they had some things that were going on, especially with us in the 88 room, and that were not conducive of.
You make it sound so pretty.
Yeah, I mean, it was effing stuff up. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
there we go. That's
right. But it wasn't getting anywhere. Like, you made the complaints, it wasn't going nowhere. You know how dealing with the system is and so on and so forth. So your boy wrote the mayor.
Wow.
Straight up wrote the mayor. Yeah, like I'll send you the letter later. And you know what? If anybody else wants it, I don't know. We'll redact it. We'll redact it or something. But yeah, I wrote the whole mayor and everything right. Bro, I'll lie to you not. This dude came in with a team, and they went through the whole shelter and came down and made the changes and everything and so on and so forth. And you know, it's funny. I did the same thing when I was in the jail too, out the beach. That was so awesome. Like, it was so great. Like, I sued the beach, and then like the feds picked up the case. So like the sergeants and stuff, like every time we had count, like they was on me. They was like, "How you doing today, Mr. Chambers? Everything okay, Mr. Chambers?" I'm like, "Yeah." You know, can I get another pillow? I mean, like,
listen, that's the thing. Like, you got to be willing to take what comes with impact and change,
right?
Good or bad. And listen, it's not easy and it's not pretty. It's not as smooth as we sometimes want to change, right? So sometimes it takes writing letters. Sometimes it takes challenging authority. Sometimes it takes being able to move in certain ways. And some of the takeaways, yo, I can do this.
Right, and it's scary because, you know, I'm in a shelter, all right? So that means I'm only here because I have nowhere else to go.
Right.
So last thing I want to do is piss off the people that are feeding me and housing me right now. You know, biting the hand that feeds you, literally, you know what I'm saying? But it was one of those things where it was, and I really feel, no, that was before that happened, but it's one of those things where it was like, I'm just going to put it in his hands and hopefully it's going to work out. And it did. And I hope people are still benefiting from that now. But thank you, Mom, for reminding me about that. A lot has happened, all right? I've been through some things, bro.
Look, I'm going to give you two praises that we got coming through. And then I'm going to ask you the wrap-up question because we're coming to a close of this Life Change Lounge. You and I could do this for hours. We could do this for days. Because there is a comfort and there is just a beauty that is just an honest conversation.
Right.
This one, shout out to Callan, that says this: "You inspire me so much, Joel. To have a disability is hard, and I complain far too much, but you inspire me to be grateful for all that God has blessed me with." Sometimes it's hard for us to hear the compliments because sometimes we just put our head down and grind. And when somebody acknowledges that we impacted them some sort of way, we're like, "Ooh, what do I do with that other than say thank you?" But you inspire people. And I know that, think back to 19, think back to 20-something.
All right.
You didn't see yourself inspiring.
Not in this manner.
Right.
Like, not in this manner.
And
I was inspirational, but it wasn't like that.
Right, yeah. You was influential. Right. But you have a story that not only influences but inspires. It leads people to a better them. right? And so you got to own that. Honesty and here's another one came in from TX. Honesty and authenticity. I'm from Texas, excuse me. I think that's from Texas, right? Honestly, I thought that was somebody's initials. My bad.
Words is hard.
Listen, don't start. Honesty and authenticity is what we need to hear more of. Thank you for your stories because they are and will reach those of us who need to hear them.
Wow.
Sometimes we don't want to share our story because of some of the struggles of the journeys of what they are. And sometimes there's a shame element that comes to our stories. But if we don't share our stories, there's a poem that I called Our Deepest Fear, right? That says the same thing. We give people the freedom, the liberty to share theirs and to shine themselves too. Your ability to share your story frees up other people to share theirs. And maybe you never looked at it that way. A lot of us don't. Your ability to share your story unashamedly, your ability to share the hurts, to share the failures, to share the successes, freed somebody. And not only now, but somebody who's going to see this later. Not only then, but somebody that you're going to influence later on, right? Keep going.
I just never thought, I'll be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cry, that's honest. I just never, bro, the stuff I've been through, you know what I mean? Like, I just got through it just so I could get through it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, on purpose,
I didn't do it to help anybody to do anything, to get on any kind of platform and be like, look at me. Like, dude, I'm just trying to get through life day by day. Like, stuff came and I had to get through it. I had people that helped me. God put people in my life, at those times, My parents always been there, my family, my sister. I love you, Dammers, But, like, it was never the goal. It's never the goal. It was like, I'm going to go do this one day. I'm going to do it. No, it's safe. Right. No, that's not the goal. Be inspirational.
And it's not going to be the goal moving forward. Here's the funny thing. Right now you acknowledge it. Now we see it. So now we spoke that. And yet I still keep my nose down the ground because it was never about that. I'm just living. And I think that if we live honestly, authentically, and we continue to do what we're called to do and just grind, you will continue to. I don't think that this is going to change who you are. And all of a sudden now you think you the hottest thing ever.
Oh, goodness.
You will continue to grind and recognize, yo,
right.
this is
I'm going to do that because we're going to get up from here. I'm going to use both hands to lift my Humpty Dumpty body out of this chair and hobble my black self to my car and leave. Like, you know what I mean?
And life will continue to throw what life throws at you.
In fact, I got to go replace some stuff at the crib. So when I get to Walmart, I'm going to pull my wheelchair out of the trunk and roll myself around Walmart. So I can't get all big-headed and stuff like that. It's like Paul with this thorn in his side. I still got mine. So keep me humble. Like, if this reaches people, it's awesome. It's great.
That's why I chose you. That's why I intentionally chose you.
Because you know I was going to cry,
bro. You did it for me.
Freaking done, bro. Like, yo, how you let that happen? I need to talk to the producers.
Those are real. Listen, these are real tears, but they're real authentic ones, and I'm man enough to say I shed them regularly, and I'm proud of any man who's willing to. Any man of color, no less, that's willing to do that.
We don't do that.
Yo, definitely don't do that. Right? In our generation, right? Props to you. So look, here's the wrap-up question, right? Here's the wrap-up. We're wrapping this up. To me, life change means what, right? And so this is the sort of your definition of, because moving forward or having seen everything, the journey that you're on, and you only shared a piece of it.
Right.
To Joel Chambers, life change means what?
So for me, like, life change means making an intentional decision to alter your trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
Like for me. And now here's the thing. And here's a caveat / devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Like, yes, in connotation or colloquially, it can mean positive, but it doesn't have to.
Absolutely. The same.
Life can change either way. You can change the directory either way.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, because I made a life change negatively.
Yep.
Easily.
Yep.
Like, I didn't randomly end up in prison. You know what I mean? Like, I made that life change. You know what I mean? I made life change when MS hit. That was a negative thing at that time.
No doubt.
But I had to change my mindset to then take those things and change that trajectory positively for me. But it is a constant decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Absolutely. It is a daily, like you said, sometimes hourly decision. Absolutely. Because I could just be like, you know what, this is BS, I'm done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Whatever.
The conversation I
All
had.
over.
Same therapist, man. This was years ago. You know, I was battling some of my own demons, some of my own stuff, and I kept telling him, man, it's over, man, it's over. Right? Suicide runs through my head regularly. It's crazy to talk about, but he would keep being like, man, you ain't doing nothing. And I was like, bro, you are a horrible therapist. Like, you don't say that to somebody, right? And he's like, you know why? And it really brought me to a place that I think that you will acknowledge, that many people watching this will acknowledge, many on our team will acknowledge, we ain't done.
Nah.
I keep wanting to be done.
Right.
You keep looking at MS, prison, struggles, right? Injustice. You keep looking at our challenges and the things that we look at and keep wanting to say, yo, I'm done.
Right.
I'm so done. And yet, not just because of the God I serve that says this ain't how the story ends,
Right.
but this can't be. I wouldn't even choose this ending.
Right.
So why would I? I ain't done.
Right.
I'm not done yet. And I think that that's the difference between, I know people who say, yo, I'm done, and then really do end it, and that's tough. And I hate that. Because that's a reality.
Yeah. It's a thing.
But the ability to be able to look at the circumstances that you've come through, Joel, and come to this point, and then hear people say, man, you inspire me to say, yo, I'm not even done yet.
Right.
I'm not done. And that doesn't mean that the struggles are done.
Right.
I'm just not done fighting. I'm not done yet. Don't be done.
And the easiest way I look at it is like this. I didn't make it this far to only make it this far.
Absolutely. 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 Let's keep going.
Amen.
Joel Chambers, man. Life Change Lounge. My dog. Oh, man.
Oh, that was a good one, too.
I really
you always watch the
appreciate
elbow.
y'all.
Watch the elbow. That's how you do it. Same way with high fives. Watch the elbow.
There you go. Y'all tune in for the next one. Y'all make sure you keep it real, you keep it going, keep the questions coming, and we promise you that we're going to address them, yo. This is Life Change Institute, Sal Ortiz, Joel Chambers, signing off.
We out. I hate you.